quite a show lined up for you. We're about to go to a interview that was done at Times Square with a firefighter who saw Building 7 collapse into its own footprint and saw the explosions happen beforehand. It's an amazing story, exclusive to Infowars.com. It's called 9/11 Firefighter Blows WTC Cover-Up Wide Open. It's got over 200,000 views. It needs to have 2 million views, minimum. It needs to have 2 million views by the end of this week. So get this video out, spread it around everybody you know. Before we go to that, I want to do a quick plug here for InfoWarsLife.com. You can see the products over here behind me. I'm on 4 of these. I do Super Male Vitality, Survival Shield X2. I take Silver Bullet when I need it, and I just started the Oxy Powder to do a cleansing of my insides. And let me tell you, the stuff works. It is amazing. I feel like I've lost, I don't know, probably 5 or 6 pounds of just crud that was in my insides. I mean, it literally, it cleans you out. So if you're thinking about it, if you're on the fence, I would get a couple of these bottles, and it has the directions on the side of what to do. Consult your doctor. I'm not a doctor. We also have the DNA Force, which will be back in soon. Super Female Vitality, the Lung Cleanse, Fluoride Shield, all that you can find at InfoWarsLife.com, and it supports everything we do here. It helps send our reporters out to different locations, to Ferguson, to the World Trade Center, 14th anniversary of 9/11. We sent Joe Biggs and Josh Owens to the border to look at what was going on with ISIS. That all helps. Also helps become a member of PrisonPlanet.tv. You can download all of the live show, the nightly news, everything that we do here, we put up on PrisonPlanet.tv. You can download it in high quality. You could put it up on your own YouTube channel with your own analysis and your own comments. You could pass out the videos for free, burn DVDs. I know people who burn tons of DVD. They'll put like 10 movies on one DVD and just pass them out for free. Amazing way to wake people up. And they may not look at it right then, but maybe 5 years from now, or maybe their little brother will pick it up and say, what's this? And become, the next Alex Jones. You never know. You always have to be planting seeds out there because you don't know which ones are going to bear fruit. Let's go now to this interview with Rudy Dent, 9/11 firefighter, blows WTC cover-up wide open.
I'm Leanne McAdoo with Infowars.com, reporting here from Times Square. I am standing next to Rudy Dent. He's a 32-year veteran of the New York City Fire Department. He's worked as well with the New York City Police Department. And you retired right after 9/11. He was there on 9/11. He saw World Trade Center Tower 7 come down. Rudy, tell us about what happened that day.
Well, I was off that day, and I received a call at home, and I got to see both buildings come down on TV. I jumped on my motorcycle. I did about 120 miles an hour across the Tappan Zee. I reported to my firehouse, and then I got my gear. A bunch of us got together. We commandeered a mail truck, and we made our way down to the site. At that time, Building 7 was still up. I saw Building 7 come down. My fellow firefighters who were there, they did that involuntary jerk when a loud explosion goes off. You can't help it, and they did. I'm a Vietnam veteran too, so I kind of didn't jump like they did, but there was an explosion. The building did come down in complete classical controlled demolition. It came down on its own footprint. There's no question about that. As a matter of fact, Richard Gage from Architects and Engineers has completely handled that from his area of expertise. Okay.
Now, we heard rumblings, things that the fire department was saying that they were overhearing Larry Silverstein talking to his insurance company of whether or not he should have the building pulled. In your professional opinion, was the building pulled?
Well, let me say this. In the New York City Fire Department, as I said, I had 32 years there. I was a chauffeur, and I was also a trained fire marshal. A fire marshal is considered an expert witness in court. He's like a forensic detective. He has the power to administer the oath, take testimony, and issue a subpoena. That's a lot of power. And he's a highly trained investigative person in his area of expertise, in arson. And we have no term that I know of that says pulling buildings. That's not our area of expertise. We've never done that. We don't do that. So for him to say that, I don't know where he pulled that out of, but it's just not part of our operations, okay?
Right, so the fire department doesn't have the training to pull a building, to demo a building like that.
We're not trained to do that. We've never done that in my 32 years. I know of no evolution whatsoever that does that.
And then talk to me a little bit, obviously, as a professional in the fire department for 30 plus years, they're saying that blaming it on office fires, just a few office fires.
Well, if it wasn't so serious a situation, that would be completely laughable. That is ridiculous. First of all, our guys were up there. They were calling for additional hand lines to mop up the isolated pockets of fire. And let me just explain one thing. Never in the history of the world, never in the history of high-rise skyscrapers has ever a skyscraper ever come down because of fire. And I'm talking massive fire. And you know the reason why? Because fire does not burn by itself hot enough to compromise and melt steel. What we had in the World Trade Center, and I saw myself, was molten lava-like pockets of molten steel. All right, I spent the night on the pile searching for bodies, and I saw that with my own eyes. So who are you going to believe? Are you going to believe a bunch of government bureaucrats or my fellow brothers, which I lost 343 guys that day? And I lost Tommy O'Hagan, Bruce Van Hines, and Kenny Kumpel. And I can never forget that. I think of that before I go to bed. I think about it the first thing in the morning when I wake up. And it's in honor of them and their family that I will continue to do everything I can to make the rest of the world wake up to the fact that this was a false flag operation.
Right. And now, as you're out there with professionals who understand what it is that they're seeing, what were you all saying to each other when you're looking at this molten lava?
Well, we were overcome with grief. First of all, we lost 343 guys. We weren't talking about that. If you look at the numerous videos, you'll see the guys bent over in incredible grief. One of the things that we have in the fire department is an incredible brotherhood. We do what we do, an aggressive interior attack, because we believe in each other. We know that our guys will pull us out if we get into trouble. And if we lose somebody, we're family. We're very close. We know each other's families. We know each other's children. And one of the things that I've been privy to is I'm proud of is that the New York City Fire Department is a calling. It brings out the best in guys, in men who put their lives on the line to save other people's lives. New York City Fire Department is probably the least integrated of all the services, right? When I first came into the firehouse, it was all heavy brogues and stuff. But those same guys, I've seen them bent over giving mouth to mouth to little black children that they've just pulled out of a building. And typically when you die or when you cease to start to breathe, you throw up. And they gave them mouth to mouth. I've seen incredible acts of heroism. I love my fellow firefighters. We love each other, and I'm dedicated to exposing this false flag that took their lives.
Absolutely. What do your comrades say to you? What do people say to you? Because we've tried to talk to some people, and of course, they have to worry about their pension and things like that.
They cannot comment, and I'm retired. But while I was on, I was approached by the news, and I deferred from commenting for two reasons. First of all, I was at 1993, the first bombing, and I saw that. I stood shoulder to shoulder with the FBI while they foraged for little paint chips. And with their forensic science, they can take that paint chip and tell you the make and model of a vehicle that it belonged to. All right? And that was a bombing. This was a bombing.
What did you think about them taking all of the debris away so quickly?
That was a crime in and of itself, because the classical thing that any investigator is taught is protect the crime scene. And NIST and the 9/11 Commission lied to the public. I mean, you cannot be that stupid. You cannot be that stupid. In law, as a former police officer, every crime or offense has a degree of mental culpability. Either you knowingly, intentionally, recklessly, or negligently committed the act. And the mere fact that there were obviously the definition of a conspiracy is when two or more people acting in concert knowingly commit an offense or a crime, all right? A misdemeanor or a felony, an offense. That is the definition of a conspiracy. Was this a conspiracy? Absolutely. Yes, it was. And those people need to go to jail for treason.
Is there anything else that you want to say to anyone out there? Anyone who might be wanting to come forward but they're scared?
I want to thank you because you're all we have. InfoWars, right? And independent press to try to get the word out to the public because the public is mesmerized by the mainstream media. And let me give you my opinion of the mainstream media. The mainstream media is, their mission is to act as the most effective weapon of mass deception and public manipulation the world has ever seen. And if you don't think that's so, ask anyone any taboo question that the mainstream media frowns upon with its army of trusted celebrity prostitutes.
Right.
All right?
We've seen
and you will see a sadly predictable knee-jerk reactionary response from the public because that's what they've been trained to believe and trust in.
Right.
All right?
Absolutely. Well, we are very glad that you took the time to speak with us to try and help break through that paradigm. We see, you know, here it is, it's very much like they live all around us with all this programming and just consistent programming with the ceremony. And we're just so thankful that people like you aren't afraid to speak out, aren't afraid to be laughed at, aren't afraid to be, you know, your friends say, what are you doing, man? Come on, you're maybe disrespectful.
You know, I think times are telling because, as you know, my name is Rudy Dent. I did an interview with Ludowski, yeah. And that interview got over 51,000 views and still climbing. Right. It got over 1,500 likes, yeah. And it only got 32 insults.
Right.
All right?
The people,
that's not bad.
They're ready for the truth. And they can think, you know, 13 years, people are going to forget. We will never forget. We remember. You remember
this. The founding fathers were up against impossible odds. They were up against King George III, upon whose holdings the sun never set. They were only 4%. And look what happened.
Absolutely. America.
Yep.
Thank you so much.
Okay. My pleasure.
Well, Leanne McAdoo reporting from Times Square, and there you have it. The people are ready for truth. It does not matter how many of these anniversaries go by, the truth will reveal itself in due time.
So are you ready for the truth out there? Are you ready to actually look at the way things happen, listen to what eyewitnesses have said, watch the video evidence, watch the news presentation from BBC where they're talking about the building 7 falling while they're standing in front of building 7 and it hasn't fallen yet? This is a crime. Can you imagine what the world would be like if we didn't have 9/11? If we weren't in these wars? It'd be a totally different place. Totally different. We wouldn't have the NSA, the TSA. We still have the NSA, but they wouldn't be as big. You wouldn't have Homeland Security. I mean, we wouldn't even be talking about Janet Napolitano and Jay Johnson and all these other people that want to leave the border open. It would be a different world. So joining us now, we have the nice young lady, Leanne McAdoo, Joe Biggs. They were there in New York covering the 14th anniversary. Guys, what are your impressions of what was going on in 9/11? People are awake now, and they're ready to accept the truth. Mm-hmm. Don't you think?
One of the craziest things I thought, you know, New York coined that phrase, never forget. There was a lot of people out there who forgot that 9/11 was going on.
Well, you saw them in that interview. They were walking back and forth looking for Batman to take pictures.
They want to take pictures with heroes because a hero to them is Superman, Spider-Man, something like that. Not a man like that who's willing to stand up against the grain and tell you the truth about what's really going on. That guy should have had 1 million pictures taken of him.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah, people should have been lined up saying, hey, you're a hero. You're speaking out. You're not concerned about your pension. And you have a story about that. You said a police officer came up to you. Tell us that story.
Right when we first got to right outside the ground zero area where they had a lot of the truthers blocked off to be able to, talk and protest. I actually had a uniformed officer come up to me and he goes, hey, Joe Biggs, can I talk to you? And I'm sitting there first thinking like, all right, why does this cop know my name? And he's like, I can't be on record right now. He's like, I'm 2 months away from retirement, but I'm going to tell you this is like, I was there. I saw an explosion at the bottom of the second tower before it happened. I saw debris shoot out right before everything happened. And he says, I guarantee you that planes did not just bring this down. He's like, this was a planned event.
And how many more out there are like him, but they're afraid to come forward because they're worried about their pension? Let me tell you, they take your pension anytime they want.
Right.
They're doing it in Detroit. They're taking everybody's got to take a haircut. That's what they call it. They call it a haircut when they steal money from you now.
Right.
So they're going to take your pension whether you speak up or not.
Well, anybody in the government, all these government agencies now, Border Patrol is scared to come out and talk about the truths that they see, actually seeing Korans and stuff at the border. They're afraid to speak to media because they're going to be threatened by the government, losing their jobs. They'll threaten them with, hey, your family's not going to have any money. Your kids aren't going to have the health care that we provide, all this stuff. It's crazy. The links are going to suppress these people from speaking out about what really happens all the time with this corrupt government.
Because they're afraid of the truth.
And
Go ahead,
initially, if Rudy or others would have spoken out, people they weren't ready to hear what they had to say. They would have immediately been ostracized. Now some time has passed and he is able to speak out. People are ready to hear the truth. They've had years and years and years of evidence presented to them. And that's one of the big issues that I have with people who just refuse to look at the evidence that they think they're so sophisticated, and everyone who's a quote-unquote truther, as if wanting the truth is a bad thing, should be, a bad thing. But
well, they're under psychological trauma. They've been beaten with the images of the buildings collapsing and the planes hitting the towers over and over again for 14 years now. We're into 2 wars. We're about to go into Africa to help them out with Ebola. Right. Sending troops to Africa to help with Ebola. We're finishing up here with talking about New York, and we started talking about Africa as we were going to break. You like to talk about the slow progression of tyranny and what's going on in Africa now. Well,
like I said last week when we were at Ground Zero, when I was on the Alex Jones show, I mentioned that how the government does stuff, we use this humanitarian crisis. Today, the headline on Judge is humanitarian catastrophe in Africa. So what happens after there's a humanitarian crisis? We send troops. Now Obama is sending 3,000 troops. What has Obama said that he will do? To any American, he will detain them if they get Ebola. So what's going to happen? We send 3,000 Americans to Africa to help build these facilities to house these Ebola patients. Someone gets sick, it spreads, they're detained, they're kept there. Then we have to build a bigger presence. We have to send more people. Next thing you know, we're sending thousands more troops to Africa. And then Leanne brought up a good point about the Bilderberg agenda. What was that?
Right. Well, on this year's Bilderberg agenda, Africa's challenges. That was one of the big things that they were going to be discussing at Bilderberg, was Africa's challenges, as well as, the future of the Middle East. And so now we're seeing humanitarian crises that we've got to go and infiltrate these countries to help with these humanitarian crises in those particular areas.
Well, September 10th last year, a year ago from now, Obama, what did he do? The eve of 9/11, he came out and said, hey, we need to fund the Free Syrian Army to help topple the Assad regime because there's a humanitarian crisis going on. Mm-hmm. We're trying to get that war. We need our next big war so we can move in those contracting groups and make billions of dollars for our country. That's what it's all about at the end of the day: money and power and more land.
And now the ISIS moderates, all the rebel groups, their whole leadership has been decimated. We're going to start making bombing runs into Syria. And if Assad dares look at our planes, we're going to start a war with him.
Well, powerful al-Qaeda branches in Yemen and North Africa called Tuesday for jihadists in Iraq and Syria to unite against a common threat from a U.S.-led coalition. Mm-hmm. They are calling for everyone to come out there now. And now we're going to Africa.
Yeah, we've definitely created this mess. And it all started with Saudi Arabia funding ISIS. We're giving them weapons through Turkey. I mean, and it just keeps going and going. I mean, they're even running some of the bases out of Turkey.
And they're wanting to continue to arm the moderates that they've been vetted and they're with us. They're not with the terrorists. Meanwhile, they just signed a non-aggression pact with ISIS.
Well, and they're giving the weapons that we give them, they just give to ISIS.
We're laundering weapons through these countries.
Exactly.
We give it to one person. We know that group gives it to them, to the Free Syrian Army. We know that the Free Syrian Army has said, hey, we've pled our allegiance to ISIS, and they were giving them weapons in mass numbers, and then not even giving them the weapon, they're giving them bodies to back that, to help them out. More money that builds together. When you bring them together, that's more money, and then they have a larger area that they can cover, and it makes it easier for them to move freely throughout the world.
And we've had plenty of training with Fast and Furious of arming people in Mexico with illegal gun running. So it's just one of the things we do. We make a lot of guns and give them to people so then they can come and attack us. That's the old problem reaction solution.
They want to have I think they want something here on American soil. That's how they get that FEMA camp thing enacted, because we already saw how quick, I've said it before, in Ferguson, we can go into that martial law state. They want to have people scared. They want people feel like they need that government. They need more police. Like, look, if you don't have police, ICE is going to come in here and they're going to kill your family. So you need us running up and down the streets with tanks, with MRAPs, with sniper rifles on top so you can be safe. Meanwhile, we're losing every liberty we have right there. But people will ignore that. They won't even pay attention because they'll be so scared by this Frankenstein that the Obama administration has created.
You were just showing me an article that the Joint Chiefs have now approved U.S. troops boots on the ground, whereas they said before it wasn't going to happen. It was just going to be airstrikes, and now it's boots on the ground. Then it's another base. We're going to build a base right on the border of Syria to help out.
Well, this is what he said. The top U.S. military leader opened the door Tuesday to U.S. troops on the ground in the fight against the Islamic State, testifying before Congress that he could recommend U.S. military ground forces if the international coalition being formed proves ineffective against this group. You know, right now, ISIS is doing what we want. You know, they're doing what the government needs them to do right now, help topple these different regimes that they want out of power so we can move in and bring in our laws and our stuff like that. Once they get too big, see, this is the thing. We have the biggest military there is. We could take these guys out in a matter of days if we really wanted to.
We are letting the monster terrorize the villagers.
Yeah.
That's what we're doing. And at some point, we're going to come out with a secret weapon that'll decapitate ISIS's regime and take them down. And then, oh, well, now we have a power vacuum. Now nobody's here. Now we have to implant our own government because, well, the first time we tried it didn't work. The second time we tried it didn't work. And now maybe the 10th time we've tried it, regime change in the Middle East. And maybe now it'll work. Yeah, that's not going to work.
I think it's 10th time's a charm, isn't it? Isn't that how it goes?
Right. Well, and just like they're wanting to allow them to attack the villagers there, it's the same thing that's going to be happening here at our border. It's just a matter of time before they can make it work for them. Currently, they don't want to talk about ISIS at the border because that is going to go against this whole immigration issue. They want to downplay the terror. Meanwhile, the Democrats are saying that opponents of the president are just trying to play up the concerns of terror so they can say that he failed. But it's all about this immigration. I bet as soon as the election's over and everything, then they can start using this as a terror threat too.
Well, that's when they're going to grant amnesty, and then they're going to say, we don't really need a border anymore. We're just going to let everybody in. And we don't need the National Guard on the border. Oh, that's fear-mongering. They're going after the militia that's just trying to help and try to do the job of the government. Yeah,
the militia, these are hardworking Americans who have families, who are teachers, who are doctors, dentists, things like that, who are coming from, inland, from Michigan, Chicago, places like that, down to the border because they see a problem that the government neglects to take care of. And what they're saying now is Texas police prepare to defend international bridges from militia groups. People just trying to help what they're not able to do themselves. And they follow the laws. They sit out there. They talk. They make themselves known like, hey, we're just here to help. If we're interfering with anything, let me know.
They identify themselves, and they still get fired upon by Border Patrol.
Yes.
So Border Patrol is treating them hostile. And these guys...
But there's still people coming across the border.
Oh, I know, exactly. That's not stopping.
We're more worried about what's inside our bubble than the evil that's trying to penetrate our country. They don't care about that.
No.
We're the threat. We're the ones that they're worried about. We're the domestic terrorists, the returning vets.
We've got dictionaries. We've got money from different countries, not Mexico, Chinese, Pakistani. They're bringing these people in.
Prayer rugs.
And we don't know who's coming through because we're not concerned about the border.
City of Austin tap water versus filtered City of Austin tap water.
I can taste dirt in it.
God knows what's in this.
This has an aftertaste.
Tastes like Austin water? Yeah, it does. Ugh.
These people just sampled City of Austin tap water straight from the faucet. Next, we had them try a sample of tap water filtered through the ProPure G2.0 filtration system.
High quality H2O.
That one is better.
Tastes like nothing.
Yep, I know what good water tastes like. It's good water.
Most tap water contains added substances like fluoride, chlorine, Monsanto's deadly pesticide, glyphosate, and many others. Studies prove that these substances are linked to an assortment of major health issues, including tooth decay, lowered IQ, and even cancer.
It tastes like you're drinking out of the lake when you're drinking tap water.
Yeah, it has that processed flavor to it.
The ProPure G2.0 filtration system removes these deadly substances and many more, leaving only fresh-tasting, deliciously clean water.
Okay, this is very tasty.
It's good water.
Refreshing.
It's good.
Go to InfoWarsStore.com today and get your free wire stand with the purchase of a ProPure Big Water Filtration System. This is a limited time offer, so don't delay. Visit InfoWarsStore.com today or call 1-888-253-3139.